You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic. Let's get right to our big story today, and that is the heat. Let's take a look from our camera on Mount Sutro in San Francisco. Little bit of fog hanging around the city, and the temperatures all over the Bay Area climbing a bit. And this is just the beginning of our warm-up. Meteorologist Jessica Birch has a look at our forecast.
Well, it's a warm day for many of us here in the Bay Area as we're gearing up for daytime highs anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above average, which is wild to think about considering the fact that yesterday all of us were below average. This abrupt warm up is noticeable anywhere from the East Bay sitting in the upper 90s, close to the triple digits today near Livermore, Antioch, and Concord, all the way up into places like wine country, also sitting in the 90s today near Santa Rosa alone. Now, you pass the Golden Gate Bridge into San Francisco. We're back into the 70s there. That's above average this afternoon, and we're continuing to heat up into our Thursday forecast right around the corner. Within the next 24 hours, high pressure continues to build its way in, and that's what's warming us up and drying us up so much, to the point where the National Weather Service has actually issued heat advisories starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. that will last throughout Thursday and Friday's forecast, expiring late Friday evening. So this is a huge area of high pressure, and it's not only impacting us here in the Bay with our microclimates, it's impacting everyone throughout the Southwest. Millions of people tomorrow gearing up for excessive heat warnings, heat advisories, all issued by the National Weather Service. Thursday is going to be the hottest day of the week, and then we slowly start to cool back down heading into this weekend's forecast. So let's talk about that heat up and cool down, because like I said, it's pretty abrupt, right? Just yesterday, we were all sitting nice and mild, 80s and 70s in our inland spots. Today, we're in the upper 90s. Tomorrow, we see triple digits for our Thursday afternoon forecast with dry skies too, dry conditions, I should say. Clear skies. And then once we head into our Friday and Saturday forecast, that's when those partly cloudy conditions really start to roll back in. Temperatures will start to dip. That area of low pressure will get us right back to where we should be heading into this weekend and early next week's forecast. You make your way over into the Bay. That heat up is noticeable too. We'll hit the 80s tomorrow, and then we're back into the 70s into the weekend.
Police in Oakland investigating a pair of smash and grabs at two banks early this morning. The burglars apparently used the same MO at both locations, using a vehicle to crash into the front of the building. Their first target, the Sterling Bank on Webster Street. You can see what it looks like there, the water on the floor, meaning the sprinkler system might have been triggered. We're told this happened just before 4:30 a.m. Their next stop, the Cathay Bank, also on Webster Street. Here's a look at the damage there. Looks like the door ripped off, and there's stuff all over the floor. Nearby, we did see police casing an abandoned U-Haul truck that had a chain on the back. We've reached out to OPD to ask if that vehicle had anything to do with the crimes. No word yet on if anybody's been arrested. 3 people were rescued and a pet cat died when a home caught fire this morning in San Francisco. Firefighters responded to this 3-story home on 47th Avenue between Judah and Irving in the outer Sunset just after 6 a.m. They say one person escaped the fire by jumping from a window into their backyard. Here's a look at citizen video from earlier as that fire tore through the home. Fire officials say that fire also spread to 2 nearby buildings. The cause still under investigation. Today, lawmakers in Texas are voting on that redistricting bill to change the state's congressional maps. This is a look at that meeting in the House right now. The plan would create 5 new Republican-leaning seats ahead of next year's midterm elections. The debate and vote on the map could take several hours. Here's a look at the congressional maps right now. On the left is the current map. Most of the blue is seen in the middle of the state there. On the right, this is what the map would look like if that change is approved. Meantime, California Republicans are suing to stop Governor Newsom's plan to redraw California's congressional maps. Right now, Republicans representing 9 different congressional districts in California, but the proposal on the right could shrink that number to just 4. The districts in light blue could give Democrats 5 more seats in the House. Democratic lawmakers are working to approve a package of bills that would put the issue in front of voters in November. Thousands of Californians showed up to a hearing on the issue at the state capitol yesterday. More hearings are set to happen ahead of a deadline on Thursday. Well, for those of you who take BART, you don't need a Clipper card anymore. The transit agency's new tap and ride system allows people to pay using your mobile credit or debit cards. Our Veronica Macias asked some commuters in San Francisco what they think about the change.
This morning, we're at the Powell BART station, and look at this. very convenient way that BART is now rolling out for out-of-towners, people who don't use BART every day. They don't have to hassle with getting a Clipper card, adding some value to it. They're even putting out signs now letting everyone know that you can now use your debit card, your credit card, and also Google Pay and Apple Pay to ride BART. You have to make sure that you use one card per rider. So families, maybe you use a debit card and then Apple Pay for the kiddos, or figure that out if you're riding as a group. We also talked to BART this morning. They tell us that this is a new time for them, exciting, sort of everything coming together. They put up the new fare gates for people who are trying to ditch paying those fees. And also we talked to people who are saying the best thing with the debit cards is that it's saving them some time, which is pretty fantastic when you're not riding BART every day and you're visiting from out of town.
I feel like it is convenient in a sense, especially when I'm on the go. It's probably easier to Apple Pay or take out my debit card and tap it versus loading up my phone, or maybe have no reception on my phone instead. So it'll be convenient that way.
BART also telling us that they've seen an increase in ridership. In the month of June, they saw a 12% increase compared to last year. So with this new form of payment, of course, they're expecting more riders because it's easier for people. And of course, more riders means that they're able to generate more revenue and focus on things like having clean cars, also safety. Remember that when you use the card, you have to take it out of your wallet to avoid what they're calling card clash.
And keep in mind the Clipper card system is not going away. This is just a new way to pay specifically on BART. BART says you still do need to use the same card or device to tap in and out. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, a Jewish-owned business in the South Bay vandalized with swastikas, and that's not all. We're going to show you the damage done in less than 2 minutes. Plus, electric vehicle owners about to lose a big perk on the freeway, while some of their privileges in the carpool lane are now being reversed.
Well, it's a warm day for us here in the Bay Area. Upper 90s expected off into the East Bay today. 90s and 80s widespread throughout the rest of our inland areas. And by tomorrow, heat continues to build as we're gearing up for triple digits. Now, the National Weather Service has issued heat advisory starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. throughout most of the Bay Area. That's going to last throughout our Friday forecast as well as we continue to hold on tight to 90s for another day. You make your way over into the Bay forecast. Well, we have 70s turning into 80s tomorrow, back into the mid 70s heading into this weekend's forecast.
Embattled San Mateo County Sheriff Christina Corpus is taking the stand again today. It is day 3 of her public hearing to determine if she should be removed from office. Our cameras captured Sheriff Corpus as she left yesterday's hearing. She is accused of corruption and misconduct. She's denying allegations that she used her power as sheriff to target critics and favor allies. Corpus answered questions from the county's attorneys about allegations that she retaliated against her employees. Another issue, pay raises she pushed through for top aide Victor INJ. Corpus has denied the two had a romantic relationship.
It doesn't really matter if it was romantic, but the fact that he was so close to you, giving you gifts, you're having lunch all the time, and you're promoting him, you're moving him up the ladder when he doesn't necessarily deserve it, that's where I think the conflict of interest comes in.
At the end of the civil hearing, a judge is going to make a recommendation to the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors about whether Corpus should stay on as sheriff. The Board of Supervisors still has the final say. A South Bay business vandalized with swastikas. Now, police in San Jose are investigating this as a hate crime. The vandals used spray paint to leave their mark at a Jewish-owned business on Phelan Avenue. The owner showed our Amanda Harry the surveillance footage.
Damaged the windows. You can see the guys stepping on them.
Rows of vehicles vandalized with swastikas and the letters KKK graffitied on the garage door. Owner of HVAC and insulation gurus, Lior Zivi, says he was disgusted to wake up to a call about something like this.
It's the fact that people, did it just because of my religion, nothing else.
Zivi is Jewish, but says no one else at his business is. He called San Jose police immediately to report it. They're investigating the vandalism as a hate crime. And though they haven't caught the suspects yet, security cameras did.
it took them less than 2 minutes to do so much damage. Broke some windows, some side mirrors, paint the cars. The girls in the office got scared in the morning a little bit.
The suspects were wearing all black, making it difficult to tell who they are. ZV says he's known in the community for his faith and is still processing that something like this happened.
Every time that there is a holiday or something, the rabbi gonna do an event and he gonna advertise us because we're donating either the food or something like that. So it's a big thing for them, and everybody in the community know our name, know the logo.
He reached out to his rabbi, Mendel Weinfeld, for support, and the response was more than he could have ever expected.
The rabbi put a post on his Facebook, and I got hundreds of phone calls and emails and texts from the whole community and people that I don't even know that supported me and made me feel way better.
Rabbi Weinfeld says this isn't the first time they've seen anti-Semitism in San Jose, but it's not going to stop them.
It's not just vandalism. They tried to put fear in the hearts of the Jewish people, and what ends up happening is the opposite.
He says the Jewish people will come together to support one another.
You know, our response is to do even more goodness and kindness. It's always our response is to add in light and do good.
ZV doesn't know if these people will be caught, but he wishes people would stop targeting his community or any community.
I just hope this is the last hate crime happening over here.
Well, the FBI says it got more than 11,000 reports of hate crimes nationwide last year. It also reported more than 13,000 related offenses motivated by bias. Meantime, the Secure Community Network, which helps track anti-Semitic incidents nationwide, found 69% of hate crimes motivated by religion last year were anti-Semitic. Now to a controversy out of Yosemite. Park officials fired a longtime ranger after they helped hang a massive transgender pride flag from El Capitan. Now, others involved could be facing charges. Ranger Shannon Jocelyn says they raised the 66-foot flag in May to show that trans people belong in national parks. They took it down voluntarily, but later got fired for misconduct. Park officials say that some workers and visitors violated protest rules, now tightened under the Trump administration. The Justice Department says it might pursue charges against the visitors involved. A week-old infant and her mother have been found safe after being reported missing for 16 hours in San Francisco. Police say they found 33-year-old Kenesha Davis and her child just after 4 yesterday afternoon. The two were last seen leaving a Target store at Masonic Avenue and Geary Boulevard on Monday. Police reported the baby to be at high risk of being neglected. That case is now being forwarded to Child Protective Services. After 10 years, an arrest has been made in a double homicide case in San Francisco. Authorities say the suspect shot and killed 2 people in the Bayview neighborhood, including a mother caught in the crossfire. These shootings happened in January 2015. The district attorney's office says 34-year-old Anthony Tyree was involved in a drive-by shooting on Revere Avenue and Ingle Street. Police say Maria Lourdes Souza was hit and killed by a stray bullet while standing outside of her home. Souza had just picked up her kids from school at the time. They were ages 3, 9, and 13. A memorial was set up for Souza. She was remembered as a hardworking and caring mother. Her sister told us in 2015 that her heart was breaking for the family.
She can't see her kids grow up. It sucks.
Now, police say Tyree had been firing at another car in a rolling gun battle. The passenger in the car was killed and the driver was injured. Investigators say they found an AR-15 short-barrel rifle at Tyree's home in Pittsburgh. He is facing charges including murder and attempted murder. A perk for electric vehicle owners is officially coming to an end across the state. A sticker that allows electric vehicles in the carpool lanes will become invalid at the end of September. Our Kara St. Cyr heard from a driver who had been taking advantage of this perk for years and now is looking toward the potential traffic impacts.
I've had carpool stickers and EVs since 2011. Steve Lemke's Tesla was a dream buy. But these clean vehicle decals make this purchase worth it.
It's good for lessening traffic. And then when EVs came out, it helped really motivate people to buy EVs, which is, so many positive aspects. It's good for the environment.
This sticker gives people in electric vehicles access to the HOV lane, even if there's only one person in the car.
When traffic is completely jammed on 101 or 85 or 280, or in this case, San Tomas Expressway or Lawrence Expressway, you're able to drive in the carpool lane.
The program needs federal legislation to keep it going, but lawmakers haven't voted on an extension. The California DMV website now says the decals will expire on October 1st. Lemke is disappointed.
People generally don't carpool, and all these single vehicle clean air vehicles are going to be thrust back into the other lanes because they won't be able to ride in the carpool lane.
Bill McGavern, the policy director for Coalition for Clean Air, says losing the decals will affect more than just traffic.
It's absolutely vital that we make the transition to zero-emission vehicles because California has the worst air pollution in the whole country, by far.
The 2024 State of the Air report from the American Lung Association listed California among states with the worst air quality in the country. Car emissions were among the leading pollutants. But McGavern says there could be a silver lining.
The solo driver zero-emission cars out, then you may see a benefit in the carpool lanes are moving better, and that's better for the cars that actually are carrying 2 or more people.
Drivers have until August 29th to order a decal, but time is limited to use them.
There's a Chevy Bolt with carpool stickers on it.
Lemke says he's happy he got to use the decals for so long.
It's a great incentive.
He just hopes the state can find another incentive to motivate people to buy electric.
Yeah, it's right over here.
Last year, there were more than 400,000 vehicles on the roads with active stickers. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, changes coming to landlines for at&t customers. Now, one East Bay woman is fighting to keep those copper lines alive. Why she calls them a literal lifeline.
I absolutely need it. This is the way that I would get notification, whether it's time to evacuate or if it's just high wind.
We're gearing up for warm temperatures this afternoon. That's going to be the case again tomorrow as this area of high pressure continues to roll its way in from our inland spots. It's impacting millions. I mean, the National Weather Service has issued heat advisories for us here locally that starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. and it's going to last throughout Thursday and Friday's forecast. At the same time, that heat risk map shows moderate conditions for us here in the Bay and our inland areas, but it's showing a high risk and even very high risk for millions of people from Vegas down into Phoenix and throughout most of Southern California too. So what does that mean for us? We're getting a glimpse of it. We're just not dealing with the full force area of high pressure that's going to heat us up, that could heat us up even more, I should say. We're jumping into the 80s for our friends throughout the Bay as we head into our forecast tomorrow. And in our inland areas, if you think this afternoon is warm with those upper 90s, wait till tomorrow. We're gearing up for triple digits just for one day. And then that area of high pressure starts to move off. We're going to see cooler conditions, and especially as we head into this weekend's forecast developing. And that's the case as we head into early next week.
Major changes could be coming for at&t customers who still use landline phones. The company is pushing to get rid of its legacy network of copper landline service, instead hoping to install a fiber optics network that would be phased in over several years. An at&t spokesperson said less than 5% of Californians are on the copper service. But for one woman in Berkeley who does not have a cell phone, her landline is her lifeline. Suji Nam sat down with her as she dials into an uncertain future.
It's something as simple as making a phone call.
Oh, it's great to hear from you.
But to Cynthia Larson, it's so much more.
This landline phone is my lifeline. I absolutely need it. This is the way that I would get notification, whether it's time to evacuate or if it's just high winds.
Larson does not have a cell phone.
Sometimes they do those PIPs shut off for the utilities to be fire safe in high wind situations. I rely upon my landline to find out what's going on outside of my area.
She said having a beeper at her IT job years ago put her off from ever buying a cell phone.
There's no way I wanted to be on call to anyone or answering anything that rings.
But now her lifeline, the at&t Copper Services landline, is in jeopardy. Legislation moving forward in Sacramento would enable at&t to phase out this legacy network. State Assembly member Tina McKinner authored the Carriers of Last Resort bill.
In the next 10, 15 years, copper will be obsolete. No one will have a home phone anymore.
She ensures that residents will have other phone service options available before the switch to fiber optics.
They have to have 3 other services, 2 wireless and 1 hardline service, which is a VoIP. If they don't have that, if you don't have that in your area, they can't pull out, and you'll just keep your copper lines.
Utility watchdog groups say the bill would impact about 1.5 million Californians who rely on copper services, especially when service is down.
I can call 911, and also that I can get that alert from 911, because if you're in a place where the power is out and there's a wildfire and people are not getting the information because the networks are down, that house might be the only one getting those alerts.
Larson is concerned, however, about the reliability of these new services in areas that have spotty connection.
Sometimes my family or friends, they need to go outside on the porch to use the phone.
She hopes that at&t will answer their call to continue offering copper services to longtime customers like her.
Do we really have something that's equal or better than copper landlines in these emergency situations?
Larson says she has no choice but to wait and see what will happen next.
The Public Utilities Commission rejected a similar proposal last year. This year, the bill is headed to the Senate Appropriations Committee. That is set to happen at the end of this month. at&t released a statement saying that no customer will be left without voice or 911 service, and that they are committed to working with the state on a transition for reliable communication around the state. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, these seniors living in a mobile home community locked in a land battle with their city. Now they plan to purchase the property, but that plan has hit a last-minute roadblock.
The first parade of its kind rolls into KPIX Plus September 20th. From the smooth rides of the 40s to the flash and chrome of the 80s, watch custom lowriders bounce, hop, and roll with style. Award-winning Chevys, classic Fords, and pure automotive artistry. Join Sarah Donchi and myself for King of the Streets Parade, Saturday, September 20th at 1 p.m. Only on KPIX Plus and CBS News Bay Area.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic. Here is a look at some of the news headlines we are following this morning. Oakland police investigating a pair of smash and grabs at 2 banks early this morning. The burglars using a vehicle to crash into the front of both buildings. Their first target, the Sterling Bank on Webster Street. That happened just before 4:30 a.m. Then they hit the Cathay Bank, also on Webster Street. Nearby, we saw police casing this abandoned U-Haul with a chain on the back. We've reached out to OPD to see if this vehicle has anything to do with the crimes. No word yet on if anyone's been arrested. 3 people were arrested and a pet cat died when a home caught fire this morning in San Francisco. Firefighters responded to this 3-story building on 47th Avenue between Judah and Irving. It's in the outer Sunset, just after 6 a.m. They say one person escaped the fire by jumping from a window into their backyard. Fire officials say that fire also spread to 2 nearby buildings. The cause is under investigation. And starting today, there is a new way to pay on BART. You don't need a Clipper card anymore. Just use your credit or debit card. That is part of the transit agency's new tap and ride system. BART says you need to use the same card or device to tap in and tap out. And keep in mind, the Clipper system is not going away. You still need that for other Bay Area public transit systems like Muni and the ferries. Let's get another check here on our first alert forecast as a heat up begins in the Bay Area. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, it's a warm day for many of us here in the Bay Area as we're gearing up for daytime highs anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above average, which is wild to think about considering the fact that yesterday all of us were below average. This abrupt warm up is noticeable anywhere from the East Bay, sitting in the upper 90s, close to the triple digits today near Livermore, Antioch, and Concord, all the way up into places like wine country, also sitting in the 90s today near Santa Rosa alone. Now, you pass the Golden Gate Bridge into San Francisco. We're back into the 70s there. That's above average this afternoon, and we're continuing to heat up into our Thursday forecast right around the corner. Within the next 24 hours, high pressure continues to build its way in, and that's what's warming us up and drying us up so much, to the point where the National Weather Service has actually issued heat advisories starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. that will last throughout Thursday and Friday's forecast, expiring late Friday evening. So this is a huge area of high pressure, and it's not only impacting us here in the Bay with our microclimates, it's impacting everyone throughout the Southwest. Millions of people tomorrow gearing up for excessive heat warnings, heat advisories, all issued by the National Weather Service. Thursday is going to be the hottest day of the week, and then we slowly start to cool back down heading into this weekend's forecast. So let's talk about that heat up and cool down, because like I said, it's pretty abrupt, right? Just yesterday, we were all sitting nice and mild, 80s and 70s in our inland spots. Today, we're in the upper 90s. Tomorrow, we see triple digits for our Thursday afternoon forecast with dry skies too, dry conditions, I should say. Clear skies. And then once we head into our Friday and Saturday forecast, that's when those partly cloudy conditions really start to roll back in. Temperatures will start to dip. That area of low pressure will get us right back to where we should be heading into this weekend and early next week's forecast. You make your way over into the Bay. That heat up is noticeable too. We'll hit the 80s tomorrow, and then we're back into the 70s into the weekend.
Well, people living in a mobile home community in Marin County have hit a snag in their decades-long plan to buy their property. The Marin Valley Mobile Country Club is a mobile home park for seniors in southern Nevada, just east of 101. Our John Ramos met with some people who live there who say that they've been paying for decades to purchase the land, and it's almost paid off. But now they are locked in a battle with the city.
The seniors living in this mobile home park were forward-thinking. In 1997, they hatched a plan to purchase the property to give themselves more housing stability, and they've been paying on the loan ever since. But now that it's almost all paid off, rather than becoming the owners, the city is telling them that they have to pay for it all over again. The residents of the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club don't mind being over the hill. In fact, that's where they would like to stay. The 319-unit complex houses 400 elderly residents, with more than 90% being low income.
And housing security, financial security, and a community is key to aging well.
So they entered into an agreement to pay $17 million to buy the property. They didn't have collateral, so the city stepped up to guarantee the bank loan.
The original intent was that we would own the park when it was paid off. The city has changed that tune quite a bit over the years.
The city has paid nothing for this piece of property. The residents have paid for everything. Initially, our name was supposed to be on the title. Somewhere in the paperwork, it got lost, and the city took title.
Currently, with a little more than $1 million left to pay on the loan, the city of Novato is the legal owner of the park and considers itself to be the residents' landlord. So when the homeowners once again offered to buy the property, this time for $20 million, the city refused, demanding $26 million instead. The residents say they came to that figure by ignoring the status of the park as low-income, seniors-only housing.
They basically told the appraiser, you don't have to take that in consideration when you're doing the evaluation of the park, because it may not necessarily move. It doesn't have to necessarily continue with the sale of the park.
We're fighting for our lives here. And a lot of people will not be able to afford to move if the status changes. I'm vulnerable. I think most of the people here are vulnerable.
And while the city demands an extra $6 million for land it hasn't paid a dime for, some are wondering why they should have to pay anything more at all.
The city's had a lot of financial issues, fiscal issues, and I think for them to try and solve it on the backs of a low-income senior housing is just unconscionable. And they need to look elsewhere for funds rather than try and double dip here and make us pay twice.
In all the years that I was here and things seemed to be going along fine, I would say,
Okay, it looks like everything, but in the back of my head, I'm saying we're owned by politicians. What could not go wrong?
The residents plan to appear at next week's council meeting. They are in the unusual position of having a landlord that may one day be asking for their vote.
Well, we reached out to the city for a response. They say they can't comment because the negotiations are, quote, ongoing and confidential. Well, a person has tested positive for the bubonic plague in South Lake Tahoe. Health officials say cases like this are not unheard of in the area, but they do raise some concerns. The infected person is recovering at home and receiving antibiotics. El Dorado County health leaders say plague bacteria often shows up in high elevation areas like Lake Tahoe. Fleas on rodents usually spread it. Symptoms include nausea, muscle aches, and bite marks. So far this year, 4 rodents in the basin have tested positive. And a warning for dog owners about an illness carried by ticks. It's called anaplasmosis, and it is spreading quickly throughout the state. The disease is mainly showing up in dogs. Symptoms include fever, fatigue, and weight loss. In some cases, dogs could even have seizures. Vets say diagnosis can be difficult, so it's important to mention if your pets spend time in tick-prone areas. They also say the disease is treatable.
Probably doesn't matter so much when you give the antibiotics. It just costs more, to have your dog in hospital, not feeling well, going back in and out of veterinary clinics before finally the right diagnosis is made.
The Companion Animal Parasite Council said that between 2021 and 2024, the number of dogs testing positive for the disease has nearly tripled. The organization made this map that shows most of California is facing a risk of infection. Marin, San Francisco, San Mateo, and Alameda counties all labeled as high risk for the disease. Vets say the best way to keep your dog safe is to have year-round flea and tick prevention and examine your dog after walking in grassy or wooded areas. Well, oysters are considered a delicacy, but do you ever think about what happens to those shells afterward? Nearly 2 billion are eaten every year across the globe. Our Max Darrow has a look at the project that collects the shells to help restore local ecosystems.
You can see a little oyster there.
They're small yet mighty organisms.
Oysters are so important to marine ecosystems.
And if anybody knows a thing or two about oysters and the role they play as ecosystem engineers and shoreline stability stalwarts.
But they filter 10, 20, 30 gallons of water a day.
It's Jeevan Kaki.
They help to clean the water of pollutants and particulates and algae that we might not want in it. My whole kind of drive as a scientist is to see the species succeed and to help restore our estuaries because we really depend on them.
Kaki is the lead scientist for the Wild Oyster Project. It's a group that is working to bring native oysters back to San Francisco Bay.
Because of historic human activity and historic changes in the bay, we really lost a lot of our oyster populations in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And only recently have they really started to come back with our restoration efforts.
That includes the team's creation of these oyster reef balls, aka orbs. You can see the top sticking out above the water at low tide, to build the Heron's Head Oyster Reef in Bayview Hunters Point.
It's so cool to see projects like this work. We've exceeded our project goals each year. We keep finding more and more oysters on the reef balls, which is pretty exciting.
The team built the orbs with a material best suited for success, recycled oyster shells. And they're able to acquire them largely thanks to people in the Bay Area having quite the appetite for oysters.
We sell about 3,000 oysters a week.
Rachel Barrett and her team at Mission Rock Resort don't throw out their oyster shells. They put them in bins like these for the Wild Oyster Project to pick up on a routine basis.
They're here usually once a week.
And they're just one of many restaurants doing this. She and the team say they depend on fresh and clean seafood to run their business.
We are very focused on local product.
So they feel like supporting an effort to maintain and revitalize the local marine ecology is really a no-brainer.
No matter how big, how small, everybody can make a contribution.
So we use the shell for all kinds of stuff. We use it in oyster reef balls. We use it in other oyster restoration projects. We've also started partnering with marsh restoration efforts.
Kaki says the mission to restore habitats and protect shorelines is only growing more important for the region as sea levels rise and the climate changes.
We depend on bays for recreation. We depend on them for just the beauty of them. We depend on them for so much economic interest. Everybody that lives on a bay, even if you don't go to the beach every year, you depend on it in one way or another.
And fostering an environment for these small creatures to flourish may play a mighty role in the bay's health and future.
Well, the Wild Oyster Project is also using oyster shells to restore the Napa River salt marsh that is a habitat for ground nesting birds. As of June, they have 15 active nests. Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area, as the 49ers gear up for their final preseason game this weekend, we're going to show you which rookie wears these off the field.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Well, it's a warm day for us here in the Bay Area. Upper 90s expected off into the East Bay today. 90s and 80s widespread throughout the rest of our inland areas. And by tomorrow, heat continues to build as we're gearing up for triple digits. Now, the National Weather Service has issued heat advisory starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. throughout most of the Bay Area. That's going to last throughout our Friday forecast as well as we continue to hold on tight to 90s for another day. You make your way over into the Bay forecast. Well, we have 70s turning into 80s tomorrow, back into the mid-70s heading into this weekend's forecast.
We are counting down to the last preseason game for the 49ers. Just 3 days until their final face-off before the regular season. And as Vern Glenn shows us, one of the rookies is getting ready by letting the dogs out.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers are getting ready for their final preseason game this Saturday against the Chargers. And you can watch that game right here on KPIX with coverage starting at 5 p.m. But before we look ahead to that final dress rehearsal, the Red and Gold took care of business last weekend in Sin City. Strong showing for rookie linebacker Nick Martin. He led the Niners with 6 tackles in the win over the Raiders, and that included 2 tackles for loss and a sack for the former Oklahoma State Cowboy. Martin said he's learning from veteran Fred Warner on how to be a dog in the pros, and the 3rd-round pick is even channeling that to his footwear.
So you say you're learning from Fred how to be a dog, and I'm going to get my cameraman to tilt down as I ask you to explain those dogs on your feet.
Yeah, man, they're comfortable. I mean, I love expressing myself. You know, I love slippers. I love animals. You know, I mean, why not wear them? So, I mean, you could take some subliminal messages with it. I think it's just, you know, it's fashion. So, yeah.
With the Red and Gold Report, I'm Vern Glenn.
I'm into it. Again, the 49ers take on the Chargers this Saturday to close out their preseason. Live coverage starts at 5 o'clock on KPIX and streaming on Paramount+. The Golden State Warriors going back on the road where they are making a run for the playoffs with just 9 games left in the regular season. Last night at Chase Center against the Phoenix Mercury, Golden State ended up losing 98-91. The Valkyries are going to need to stay in the top 8 to make it to the playoffs. Right now, they're in 7th. Next game going to be at Phoenix on Friday. Oracle Park going to be hosting a different kind of pitch this weekend. Bay FC, the women's pro soccer team, going to take the field Saturday afternoon. Oracle Park has hosted soccer matches before, but this is going to be Bay FC's first match in the home of the Giants. The team has already sold tens of thousands of tickets, and it's an extra special game for Bay Area natives Joelle Anderson and Carly Lima, who grew up as Giants fans.
I didn't think that would ever happen, but now it's just like a dream come true. So I think when I step out on that pitch, obviously just going to take it all in.
We've grown up here and going to those games and watching them on TV, so I think just playing there is just surreal. And, you know, I think we have a lot more to play for than just ourselves.
The game against the Washington Spirit set to kick off at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, we're going to meet an artist turning one person's trash into another's treasure. How a local recycling company is helping them create a high-end art gallery.
We're gearing up for warm temperatures this afternoon. That's going to be the case again tomorrow as this area of high pressure continues to roll its way in from our inland spots. It's impacting millions. I mean, the National Weather Service has issued heat advisories for us here locally that starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. and it's going to last throughout Thursday and Friday's forecast. At the same time, that heat risk map shows moderate conditions for us here in the Bay and our inland areas, but it's showing a high risk and even very high risk for millions of people from Vegas down into Phoenix and throughout most of Southern California too. So what does that mean for us? We're getting a glimpse of it. We're just not dealing with the full force area of high pressure that's going to heat us up, that could heat us up even more, I should say. We're jumping into the 80s for our friends throughout the Bay as we head into our forecast tomorrow. And in our inland areas, if you think this afternoon is warm with those upper 90s, wait till tomorrow. We're gearing up for triple digits just for one day. And then that area of high pressure starts to move off. We're going to see cooler conditions, and especially as we head into this weekend's forecast developing. And that's the case as we head into early next week.
Well, the activist who founded Pot University, Richard Lee, has died. He passed away in Houston, Texas, after a battle with cancer. Lee relied on marijuana for medical purposes after he was paralyzed in an accident back in 1990. That sparked his activism in leading the California proposition that would pave the way for legally regulated cannabis use. He also opened 2 marijuana coffee shops in Oakland. Lee was only 62 years old. Meantime, some artists use paint to create masterpieces, but this artist is using trash. Our Itai Had met up with a local trash artist in San Francisco who is turning what other people toss out into works that are anything but garbage.
To most people, this is just a dump. But to Dina Cabazard, it's a full-service art supply store with a very flexible return policy.
Sometimes you'll look and you're like, no, and then sometimes the unexpected car comes and you're like, oh my goodness, fantastic.
A Kuwaiti-American artist, Cabazard has been mining the muck for years, looking to give old objects new spark.
Is there anything here that's catching your eye?
I love scrap metal.
Today, she scores a bracelet, a mirror, and a string of chandelier crystals, all ready for their second act. Back in her studio, those finds turn into collages of metals, textiles, and photographs, much of it pulled straight from the dump.
So now I'm kind of just playing around compositionally what it looks like.
As climate concerns take center stage, repurposed art is getting more wall space and less side-eye from the art world.
2, 3.
Exhibit A, the latest show from the city's garbage collector, Recology, which for 35 years has run an artist-in-residence program, now on display at Minnesota's Street Project, one of San Francisco's most renowned galleries.
It seems like we're seeing more trash in the art world these days.
That's a funny way of putting it.
Deborah Monk runs the program. She says 99% of the materials are what is referred to as upcycled.
Artists have been using trash for a long time, but maybe for different reasons because they couldn't afford it. And I think now, with all the environmental issues that we're dealing with, it is becoming more apparent.
From a self-portrait made with discarded mirrors and the artist's own hair, to installations built from pool floats left high and dry, and even one of Cabazard's earlier pieces, a weathered photograph surrounded by scraps meant to reframe how we see beauty.
It's really important, even for the younger generation, to see like how we can reuse things and transform them, how they can, expand our imagination.
Proving that sometimes in art, the only thing worth discarding is convention.
The exhibit runs through August 30th at the Minnesota Street Project in the Dog Patch. Pretty cool. Well, if you are looking to win a treasure of your own, this could be your chance. The Powerball jackpot now stands at more than $640 million. That is the highest amount so far this year. Players can take a shot at winning the prize in tonight's drawing. The estimated cash value of the jackpot sits at just over $290 million. Unfortunately, I always have to put in this caveat, the chances of winning, about 1 in 292 million. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.